before we start, because it's like Bomer tomorrow night, we can't just go without talking about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai a little bit. And there's a major connection between Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and Rabbi Nachman, as is indicated by the very beginning of the Likutey Moharan. You have the Pticha there, right? The Chuchazu it's called, where Rabbi Nachman reveals this amazing insight on the greatness of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And there's a story, if you see in the notes, it's brought down in, I think, Kochvei Or, that once a Breslov Chassid, a student of Rabbi Nachman, he went to a very far town, very far from the Ukraine area where Rabbi Nachman was, and he stayed by the Rav's house. And when he came to the Rav's house, he was told that the Rav is a big Mekubal and a big tzaddik and everything, besides being a halachic Rav, a Dayan, whatever. So when he came in, he saw on the table the Likutey Moharan. This is again after 1808, 1809, or after Rabbi Nachman passed away. So he was shocked. He said, "You have the book, Likutey Moharan?" And the Rav said, "What? You know the book?" He said, "Of course I know the book. I'm a student of the author of Rabbi Nachman." He said, "Oh my God, listen, I have a question to ask you. Why do you think Rabbi Nachman started the Likutey Moharan with this pticha on the chuchazu, the opening, the introduction? It's even before lesson number 1. You have in Likutey Moharan Rav Noson's introduction, then you have a song, a poem written by Rabbi Nachman, then you have this pticha, this little introduction, and then you have lesson number 1. Why did he begin with this little introduction on Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai?" And the way he was asking the question, so the Breslover felt that he had some chidush, some insight into it. So he asked him, "B'chavod, you tell me, what do you think?" So he said, it's brought down from the Rokeach and other Rabbanim that when somebody writes a sefer, so he hints to his name in the beginning of the sefer. He gives a gematria or something in the name of the book or the introduction that introduces the person. So he said, "I noticed that Shimon Bar Yochai has the same gematria exactly as Nachman Bar Simcha, the father of Rabbi Nachman, because it says there his name is Simcha." So he said, "I saw it, figured out, it's 501 by the way. Nachman Simcha and Shimon Yochai is exactly 501. Exact same number." So he's hinting to, this is the Rav said, he wasn't even a Breslover, he's hinting to who his neshama is. That's a big statement. I can't say that, you can't say that, but this story is brought down in the Sefer Kochvei Or, and a Rav who was not even a Breslover, who saw immediately when learning Likutey Moharan the greatness of Rabbi Nachman. He says it's not a regular mechaber of svarim, it's something unique, something that sticks out. And he pointed this out, and yeah, that's one major connection. So one of the most powerful prayers Rav Nosson wrote in the Likutey Tfilot is the prayer that he wrote to be recited by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's grave. It's not yet really in the English 50th gate. It's going to be translated soon. It's prayer 47 in part 2 of Likutey Tfilot. It's one of the most commonly recited prayers when you go to Meron by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. You have this prayer posted everywhere. In every room you have in big letters this prayer written by Rav Nosson. It's very moving, it's very emotional, very powerful. So now there's a lot to be said about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. How much can we go on? We'll do just some insights about the greatness of being by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. There's the balagan that happens there. You have all types of people who come to Meron like Bomer. You have religious Jews, and you even have secular Jews, and you even have some crazy things taking place there, unfortunately. So there was a story about 100 years ago. There was some Mekubal, some Kabbalist, he was in Meron for Lag Bomer, and he went in the middle of the davening and the joy and whatever, and he went to take a break. He went to the forest, and he caught a young man doing an avera there. And he started to flip out this Mekubal. He says, "Why here? Why in such a holy place you're acting and doing what you're doing? Stay home. Who needs you here? Stay home. It's makom kadosh kazeh, such a holy place, and you're doing this here. Go home." So that night, he was obviously at the level. Rabbi Shimon came to the dream of this Mekubal, and he said, "Excuse me, he didn't come to you. He came to me. So mind your own business. Don't interfere. Don't interfere. It's my. I take a chayur. I'm trying to help him. It's not your. You don't." Don't get involved. About this thing, many people who have been to Lag Bomer and they see it's a lot of balagan, there's a lot of mixture, there's men and women and this and that, and you can get sidetracked. Now it's much better. Now, Baruch Hashem, they have it that there's a path for men, there's a path for women, but 20, 30 years ago, there wasn't these mehadrin paths. It was just one route to get up to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, everyone together, it was a bit upside down. So many people, because of the balagan and the can't daven and all the things and the traveling and the tiltul and everything, so many people, because of that, they choose not to go. So Rabbi Dale Gudlevsky, he once told me that he has a brother with like a very big Talmud Chacham in shooting. He knows a lot of shooting. Responsa. Shoot. So there's the shoot of Tiferet Shlomo Radomski has a shoot called also Tiferet Shlomo, besides his commentary on the Chumash. So he showed, his brother once showed him an amazing responsa about Mesirat Nefesh to going to Kivrot Tzadikim, to going to graves of Tzadikim. So he wrote something amazing. He says, traveling to Tzadikim requires Mesirat Nefesh. This is scary. We can't say this, but it's written there. You have to take a look. If you're an expert in Tiferet Shlomo shoot, you have to look for it. He says there's something scary. We can't say this, but I'm quoting the source so you can look it up. He says, what's Mesirat Nefesh? Mesirat Nefesh is not the long journey and being tired and you're schwitzing in the heat of the sun. That's Mesirat Guf, he said. Mesirat Nefesh, look at this. Again, it's not me saying this. Even to be in a situation of a safek of an avera, a safek of doing a sin, to travel to a tzaddik, this is what's called Mesirat Nefesh, and this is what's required. Even a safek of transgressing in order to get to a tzaddik, some people say, I know I'm gonna see things I'm not supposed to see, I know things are gonna happen, I'm not gonna go because of that. So he writes the Tiferet Shlomo, you have to find out where it's written, that traveling to a tzaddik, even if it's a safek, not a vadai, but a safek of an avera, that's what's required to pass that test in order to travel to a tzaddik. That's unbelievable, these type of statements. But this is Tiferet Shlomo, you can take a look, see where it's written. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, B'ezrat Hashem, it's a big day. Just in the Kabbalah, it's called Hod of Hod. This is where the mitigation starts. In other words, the mituk. Because the Hod corresponds to the left leg. And in the Sfirot, Hod, I can show you this chart here, I have it here. Hod is right before Yesod. Look at the alignment in the Kabbalah. Here's the Sfirot here, see? See this? So you have here all the Sfirot. What the Sfirot are is energy from Hashem, the Shefa, the bounty that Hashem says the world goes through these Sfirot. So you have the upper three, and Sfirot Omer we started here, Chesed. Because these three are called the intellects. We get this on Shavuot. This we get on Shavuot. But until then, we're just using the lower Sfirot, they're called the seven Sfirot, which correspond to 7 attributes, because each one corresponds to an attribute. For example, Chesed is kindness, Chesed, kindness, Gvor is severity. So these are all attributes. Tiferet is a balance, splendor. So the Kabbalah says that the bounty coming down ends at Hod. Hod collects everything from here and then gives it over to Yesod. And Yesod is like a husband, foundation, it's like the husband. And Malchut is like the wife. And the energy, the bounty being transferred from the husband to wife, that's all collected in Hod. So in the Kabbalah, it's called like this, that Yesod is called Klaliut, the all-encompassing of everything. And Malchut is called Klaliut, the Klaliut. It receives all the encompassing from Yesod. But everything stops, the edge is at Hod. Right before going into Yesod, it stops at Hod. So that's why Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is passing us on Hod of Hod to signify that now all the bounty is ready to be given over. Because the next day after Hod is Yesod of Hod, and that begins already. So you have Yesod and Malchut, the last 2 days of the Sfira week of Hod belong already to Yesod and Malchut, because it's Yesod of Hod, Malchut of Hod, and then you have the 2 weeks of Malchut and the week of Yesod, so it's 14 days, plus 2, 15, 16 really, it's 17. So 16, 17, including Shavuot, it's 17 days, and 17 is Gematria, Tov, goodness. That from this point starts now the goodness, it's a mituk, it's a mitigation. And as we know, Rabbi Akiva students, they stopped on that day that they stopped, the death of the students of Rabbi Akiva. So basically it's a very big day. You go to Meron any time of the year, but to be on that day of a Hod Shebehod is something special. To make sure you're on that day, by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, it's a big elevation. And it's been mentioned already, the joy there is unparalleled. The joy, if you want to really taste the light and the awe of Eretz Yisrael, it's in Lag BaOmer. The music is unbelievable. The music is It's called the music of Eretz Yisrael. The klezmers, the special tunes that they sing in Meron on Lag BaOmer are out of this world. It's mamash, what we call a little taste of Kedushat Eretz Yisrael is in the singing, the music, the dancing. It's something unbelievable. It's something, and anyone who's not tasted it, I don't think they've tasted what's called joy in this lifetime, in this world, in our period in life. It's something worth experiencing. Someone who's tasted it, they'll tell you that they've never seen anything like this in their life. The joy there is unbelievable. Mamash, the joy. There's even a letter from Rav Noson's son, Rav Yitzchak, who moved to Tzfat in the 1860s. And he has a letter, and the letter is called Eternally Yours. Ali B'Tshufa in Hebrew at the back. You have letters of Rav Noson's son, Rav Yitzchak, and he writes to his sons back in the Ukraine, explaining the joy in Meron Lag BaOmer. And he said in that year, there was like a rainfall on Lag BaOmer, and people, men, women, and children were walking from Tzfat to Meron in the rain, in the pouring rain. And they walk into that, back then they would walk from Tzfat. That's how they did it. There was so many people, there was no room for wagons and camels and stuff. So they would walk. They started walking. And it was pouring rain, and it was something you can't hundreds of people, hundreds, maybe thousands of people walking from Tzfat to Meron on in the rain. And he said the joy in the music, like even back then, in the 1860s, is something unheard of. So it's something very big, B'ezrat Hashem. And if a person is zocher to feel that, to connect to that light, it's out of this world. And it's the one day that it's something you see, a foretaste of what's going to be. It's a day that everybody's bending, and it was showing respect to a tzaddik. And there's no politics here. Everybody, all the groups, all the Hasidic groups, all types of Rebbeim and Tzaddikim, they give their respect to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. It's an unbelievable kavod of Tzaddikim, which is unheard of all year round. Something phenomenal. Something phenomenal. So, and it's a foretaste. To see what is an honor to a tzaddik, it's what the whole world is doing. Not just in Meron, but the whole world is doing something in honor of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And to show respect for tzaddikim. Here it sticks out, the whole inyan that Rabbi Nachman stresses, that Breslov stresses, the tzaddik, the tzaddik, the tzaddik. You have to come close to the tzaddik. Here on Lag BaOmer is where it comes out. Fine. That was just a little run before Lag BaOmer, B'ezrat Hashem, we should be zoching to be there. Now we're continuing. We left off, we started a new Torah, 67, Torah Samech Zayin, in the first part of Likutey Moharan. We're in the middle of Sif Bet. This Torah, just to recap, was given by Rabbi Nachman on Shavuot in the year 1808, right after his wife passed away. His wife Sasha, she passed away on Erev Shavuot, which that year fell on Thursday. And she was buried right before Yom Tov, so that Rabbi Nachman can have time to sit Shiva for at least an hour. The halacha is that if a person sits Shiva before a Yom Tov, then the Shiva stops the rest of the Yom Tov stops the rest of the Shiva. He doesn't have to sit 7 days. If now he starts already the Shiva before the Yom Tov. So the Chevra Kadisha was in a rush. It was in a city which was far, Breslov. Breslov is already north of Ukraine. It's like in Prussia, what's today called Prussia, an area, northern Ukraine, the border of the area called Prussia. So he was in a city far from home, and that's where she passed away. And his Hasidim traveled like over a week to be by him for Shavuot, because that was one of the fixed times that Rabbi Nachman would have a gathering of his Hasidim on Shavuot, and he would give Torah publicly. So he wrote a letter to his Hasidim, nobody come. And Rabbi Naftali, who was the first one to get the letter, he wrote to the Breslov Hasidim, make sure you come. He said not to come, because he saw that Rabbi Nachman saw the Meseret Nefesh, the self-sacrifice that's going to be involved in going to be by him. It's so far away. It's like a 2-week, the whole thing will take a 2-week trip, 2.5 weeks, the whole thing. And by those days, that was a long journey. It was a long trip to be so far away from home. So Rav Naftali said to the Hasidim, the Breslovers, yes, we have to go. And there was a group of people who made it. Rav Nosson made it, Rav Naftali made it. Rav Nosson, in his biography called Likutey Moharan, he gives the account of the obstacles he had to make it to be by Rabbi Nachman for Shavuot to hear this Torah. And he shows that from the obstacles, he was zocheh to get this lesson out of Rabbi Nachman and to record it. And he said it's a zechiyah for future, it's a big merit for the future generations, this Torah. This Torah is very deep, very profound. And it talks about in the death of a nefesh. He goes into it. And he goes into the idea of getting a new nefesh, getting a new soul. And the idea of kavod, how kavod, glory or honor, is the source of all the nefashot. And that's why when a person gets kavod, he has to be very on guard, very careful to receive the kavod properly, because it could be or chas shalom to take away his soul, that he should die, chas shalom, or it's coming to give him a new soul. In other words, you have a soul already, but to give you a boost of a new energized nefesh to be added to your present neshama nefesh, that also comes through the kavod, to the honor, to the glory. So now, that was the beginning of the Torah. The next stage, Rabbi Nachman teaches that even after, if you do receive the kavod properly, which means not for your personal sake, but for the sake of Hashem, and once the kavod is by you now, and the nefesh is going to be given to you, again there's another danger, that you can lose the kavod again. In other words, after the kavod has already come to you, because you're receiving it properly, there's another damage, chas shalom, that you can lose it. And that's what? That if the kavod doesn't have what's called the face, panim, you have to make sure that the kavod has panim. What does it mean that the kavod has a panim? Panim is connected to what's called nesiut panim. The Birkat Kohanim every day, Yisa Hashem panav elecha, that Hashem shows favor to a person. So in other words, the kavod, once it's by you, to make sure that you get it, you have to make sure that it has this shining face of Hashem, that He's going to give it willingly. And there's something that a Jew can do to lose this panim. What is it? He says it's tavat achila. By a person eating chas shalom in gluttony, he loses his panim, because the food is what fuels the intellect. When you eat, when a Jew eats, the purpose of eating is to function, right? The pshat, the simple reason why we eat, is to join the guf, the body, with the nefesh. But that ultimately is to serve Hashem. And the spitz of all the serving Hashem is b'chol derachecha da'eru, to know Hashem in every way, in every part of your life. So it's to come to da'at, right? L'da'at ki Hashem hu Elokim en od milvado, to know that Hashem is running the world. So this da'at is basically because of the food. So in other words, according to how much a person eats, how he eats and everything, that will refine his Torah study and his avodat Hashem, that he's receiving proper da'at, that the da'at is properly balanced. And if not, he can lose his panim. He can lose his panim. What's the panim? Chokhmat Adam ta'ir panav. The intellect of a person shines on his face. So in other words, eating is to fuel the intellect, which then shines on the person's face, the spiritual face. If a person blemishes his eating, he can lose his panim. And by losing his panim, the kavod coming to him has no panim, because he doesn't have a keli, a reciprocal, a receptacle, a vessel of panim to receive the kavod in it. So therefore, chas shalom, if he doesn't have panim, so then we're going to see now that the kavod can be taken by other people who are called azei panim, the brazen-faced. Because now the person now doesn't have the proper panim, face, intellect, countenance to receive this kavod coming to him, to give him this new nefesh. So now other people from outside will take it. People are looking for personal kavod, and they're ready, waiting for kavod to come, and they can take it away. And always in Breslov there's a teaching. It's a rule set by Rav Avram ben Rav Nachman, one of the deep commentaries on the Likutey Moharan Lesson. He writes in a few places, when Rabbi Nachman talks about false leaders and the azei panim and the brazen-faced people and the generation, the main worry of this, the main chashash, is the person himself, that you shouldn't be the az panim. So what does that mean? That now a person is receiving kavod, he received it initially for the sake of Hashem, but then he can lose it by eating like a gluttony, he's eating out of tavat achila, and he loses his face. By losing his intellect, it now, the kavod is by him, but now he can lose it, he can now distort it and take it for being an az panim, chas shalom. We say every day to save us from azut panim ume'azei panim. We daven every day in the morning to be saved that I should not have azut panim, I shouldn't be brazen-faced, and also I should be saved from people who are brazen-faced. But we say in the Yiratzon every morning that I shouldn't have azut panim. That I'm also one of these, chas shalom, I could be one of these characters who are taking the honor now it's by me, and now distorting it, using it for personal kavod. And the kavod won't leave this point, it will be trapped, chas v'shalom, that I'm using it, the power invested in it, the new nefesh, to be used improperly. So this is the damage caused by eating. That's what we're holding now. So look at the words, v'zeh bechinot, v'yidaber elai, zeh shulchan asher lifnei Hashem. Right before paragraph Gimel, paragraph 3 in this Torah, towards the end of Seif Bet. So in here, Rabbi Nachman, he wants to show the connection between the countenance and eating. So here, v'zeh bechinot, all this we just mentioned now is the concept of this pasuk in Yechezkel. V'yidaber elai, and Hashem told me, this is Yechezkel talking, Zeh shulchan, this is the table, which is the place where we eat. The table is the place of the eating. Zeh shulchan asher lifnei Hashem. This is the table, which is lifnei Hashem. Look how he explains it, Rabbi Nachman. Lifnei Hashem daika, specifically in front of Hashem. What does it mean in front of Hashem? The panim. Bechinat harat panim alidei shulchan. So he's reading the verse like this. Vaydaber elai, Hashem revealed to me that zeh shulchan, this table which is done properly, in other words with this malchut, the word zeh in Kabbalah always connotes malchut, sovereignty, meaning person's eating with the dignity that allows that the honor, the sovereignty, the rulership of Hashem is revealed on the person's table because of how he's eating. He's revealing the malchut of Hashem by eating in holiness. So proper eating, the eating in holiness properly. Zeh shulchan, which is an indication of and leads to asher lifnei Hashem. It brings to the panim, the countenance of Hashem. This also, to those who didn't hear, he quoted the Gemara on Brachot originally that says that the angels asked Hashem, it's a Gemara in Masechet Brachot, that there's a steer on the Torah. It says in Dvarim that Hashem hu lo yisa panim v'lo yikach shochad. God is someone that you can't play tricks with, you can't play games with him. If you did good, you get rewarded. You did bad, you get punished. Hashem is a judge, a rightful judge. Hashem lo yisa panim v'lo yikach shochad. The angels asked this question. Hashem, you wrote this pasuk in Dvarim, but earlier in Bamidbar, by the Birkat Kohanim, you say there, Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'esem lecha shalom. It's a contradiction. We saw this Gemara, by the way, in another Torah, Likutey Moharan, Torah Mem Zayin. It's also in Torah Lametet. Rabbi Nachman, he brings this Gemara a few times. So the angel said that but in the Birkat Kohanim, Yisa, that Hashem will show favor to you. He'll shine his countenance, which means he'll show favor to you. So the angel said, Hashem, it's a stira, it's a contradiction in two psukim in the Torah. So the Gemara says, V'chi lo esalan panim. What? I'm not going to show favor for the Jews? That I told them in the Torah, V'achalta v'savata v'rachta. I told them, eat well. V'achalta v'savata. Eat until you're fully satisfied. And then, u'verachta Hashem l'kacha. Then do birkat hamazon. Then do grace after meals. Blessing after eating. And they, the Jews, medaktekin al atzman mikazait ve'ad kebeitza. And yet the Jews, they're very careful on themselves, even after eating 30 grams of bread, of pat, which is not satisfying at all. Someone who's hungry eats only 30 grams. What is that? It's not even a slice of bread. And already up to kebeitza, which is 60, he's still not fully full. Normally, they say to be full is like a few kebetzim. A seudah, which is considered full, the Gemara says, Tosfot brings down the whole mahalach there, it's at least 2.5, 3 beitzim. 60 grams times 3, that's like 180 grams, that's a normal meal, to be full and everything. And that's chiyuv d'oraita. A person being chiyuv d'oraita is over 60 grams. And Hashem says, they medaktik on themselves from already kazayit and kebeitza. Halacha is, l'maaseh, even if a person ate 30 grams of bread and he's still hungry, he's chayav midirabanan, he's chayav to say birkat hamazon. The Jews took upon themselves, Chazal, that they say Birkat Hamazon already after not being v'savat, like even eating a little. So Rabbi Nachman learns out from here that in other words, by eating ma'at, eating a little, I'm not hungry, and I already stopped the meal and say Birkat Hamazon, that's how he understands the Gemara, Rabbi Nachman. That they eat a little and they already say Birkat Hamazon, meaning they eat that and that's it. And even though they're still hungry, but they're minimizing, they're eating minimal. I don't need to eat that much. I know myself, I know I have a lot of fat, I have a lot of fuel, whatever, and I cut my eating. And Hashem says, this point is so important to me that I show favor for them. And this is the idea, that by eating a little, that means not over-fueling, because when you eat too much, it causes that the body overcomes the brain, the mind. When a person eats more than is necessary, out of taiva, so it causes that there's no sechel, because the body is trying to overpower the mind. So there's no panim. So this is the idea that Hashem says, how could I not show my face unto them? They're medactic to eat a little. So because they're eating a little, that's how Rabbi Nachman learns out the Gemara, so I shine the face. So now he adds now this proof here. Lichora, after saying what, this is just a question we'll learn in Likutey Moharan Lesson. Rabbeinu already brought a proof. This Gemara earlier in Brachot. You see a few lines up, you see the Brachot Kaf Amud Bet. He already proved Nesiut Panim with eating. So why does he bring this second pasuk to prove the same idea again? He again brings it down. You just said the idea. You said Shulchan is eating. Zeh Shulchan, according to the Kabbalah, Zeh is Malchut. Malchut of a Shulchan which is eating properly. And by the way, the Shulchan in the Beis HaMikdash and the Mishkan had a Zer Zahav, had a crown around it. Rashi explains, based on the Gemara, that this connotes Keter Malchut, right? There's Keter Kehuna and Keter Torah, and there's Keter Malchut. The Keter Kehuna was the Zer around the Mizbeach, right? There was a type of a reshet in the middle, right? And then in the Ark, in the Kodesh Kodashim, there's Keter Torah. That's where the Shnei Luchot, the two tablets, were put in with the Sefer Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote. That's the Keter Torah. Keter Malchut is on the Lechem HaPanim, where the bread is, where the food. So we learned there the Malchut of eating, the connection because of the Shulchan, the table and the showbread, where the Lechem HaPanim. So it's also called Lechem HaPanim, by the way. But this proof here is not necessary. Rabbi Nachman, you already proved it with the Gemara. Nice. Why add this second dimension? So I see Chaim Kramer on the notes here. He brings a little hint to what happened when Rabbi Nachman gave this Torah over. What happened there? Rabbi Nachman's wife passed away. On the first night of Shavuot, he sat together with the Hasidim. They did the Tikkun of Shavuot together. He didn't say a word to anybody. He was doing the Tikkun of everybody, dressed in the Yom Tov clothing, Yom Tov spirit, but he didn't say anything. The meal of the first day of Yom Tov, which fell on Friday morning, he was quiet the whole meal. He didn't say anything. And while eating the meal, he was learning the Ijra Rabbah. He was trying to finish the Ijra Rabbah. There's some who have the minhag to do not just the pieces of the Zohar and in the standard Tikkun El Shavuot, you have pieces of Zohar scattered. Besides that, you have people, or instead of that, you have people who do the Ijra Rabbah, which is very long. The Ijra Rabbah is maybe 100 pages in the Zohar. So it's very long there, right? So he was doing the Ijra Rabbah, and he was trying to finish it. He was trying to learn the Ijra Rabbah. And while learning the Ijra Rabbah, they served the next course in the meal, so he closed his book, and he continued eating. And then when he finished eating, he thought they finished serving the meal, so he opened the Sefer again to continue learning. They brought another course, so he closed the book again, and he continued eating the next course. And then he opened the book again, and they brought another course. They kept on bringing more and more food. He's the Rebbe, and it's Hasidim, whatever, it's Yom Tov. So he said afterwards, after eating, they are arguing with me. He said, they're the neshamot, of the people serving the food are arguing with me. What's the argument? There are two people who eat. There's the Pashut Am, so that there are two type of people who learn Torah. You have, and who eat. You have the regular Yidden, Pshutei Amecha, the regular Jews, who eat in order to have energy and koach to learn Torah. But then you have the higher level of higher people who learn Torah in order to know how to eat. So I was trying to be like the simple Yidden, to end the meal with Torah study. So they served the course of meal. I thought they finished. I wanted to learn Torah at the end. Like the Arizal brings down, it's good to learn Torah on the table before Birkat HaMazon, at the end of the Suda, to learn then Torah, to end the meal with Torah. I was trying to do that. But they hold me as being a chashuv yid, a very special guy. So after I finished learning, they brought more food because they hold me at the level that I'm learning in order to eat. So this is the argument here. And he says that this is an indication of the Shulchan Lifnei Hashem. Right? Zeh Shulchan, which brings the countenance, the Panim, which is a Sechel. We said the Panim corresponds to Sechel. Rav Nosson in his prayer, and I'm going to say this again, one of the most beautiful Perush, the most powerful commentary in Likutey Moharan is Likutey Tfilat. The more you study the Likutey Moharan and you say with it the Likutey Tfilis, you begin to see how Rav Nosson's wordings, how he words, how he expresses the ideas in prayer format. He's mamash explaining the Torah. One of the best mefarshim. People say, Likutey Moharan is a hard book. Forget it. I can't read it. I can't learn it now. Do it with Likutey Tfilis, and your mind will begin to become open. You begin to understand, because it's now with Bina. Bina, The Zohar says, Patach Eliyahu, the Tikkun Zohar, Bina Liba. Bina is in the place of the heart. And heart is also the place of davening. Avodah Shebalev, Zot Tefillah, right? The service of Hashem is in the heart. And that's prayer. Right? Serving Hashem with the heart is prayer. And Bina, understanding, is also the place of the heart. So Likutey Tefillot is mamash, a major key in opening up the Likutey Moharan to you, to begin to understand. So there Rav Nosson, he says that Panim and the Sechel, he connects clearly. Panim with Sechel, that's when he gets to this point, this part in his prayer, talking about these ideas, he expresses like that. This is the Sechel, this is the idea of the intellect. So this proof could be that indicating what actually happened at Rabbi Nachman's table, Shulchan. What happened at his table at the time that he read. Because right after that incident, on the second day on Shabbat, this is when Rabbi Nachman revealed this Torah Samech Zayin. And he added this point here. They're holding at the high level of eating for the sake of the panim, for the sechel. In other words, eating, learning Torah to come to eating, which is activating the panim of Hashem. To eat a little. You want to eat a little, and that's it. He's already ready for the panim. Fine. So to go on, Dahainu alidei achila b'kedusha, through eating in holiness, which is the shulchan, right? Bechinat harat panim alidei shulchan, the Hashem's kindness, loving kindness, which is through the table, which in other words, al yedei, when we say shulchan, means eating in holiness, because that is zeh hashulchan together is eating in holiness, the table of holiness. Okay, Sif Gimel.
Why is zeh malchus?
That's in the Kabbalah. They always say that zeh is malchut. Also zot. You've heard zot as being malchut? You never heard of this or that? There's zot and there's zeh. Really, I have to correct. Zot, feminine. This, when you say this in feminine, that is a reference to malchut. Because there you have the zayin and the aleph and the tav. Zayin is the lower seven sfirot, containing all the energy in the whole aleph-bet, from aleph to tav. And zeh, I have to correct myself here. Thank you for pointing this out. Zeh is a reference to the yesod, who's masculine. Zeh is masculine, and zeh is zayin, has the lower seven in it, because yesod is number 6, and the 7 lower sfirot is number 6. Okay, but because he's going to be giving over to malchut, and malchut has nothing of hers in herself of her own. It's only a recipient. So already yesod, who's number 6, it's as if he's number 7 also, because he's giving everything to malchut. She becomes him in a sense. She becomes unified with him. Hey is the 5 chasadim, which are very necessary. The 5 chasadim is a point that there's a mitigation of judgment. So Yesod is giving a transference of energy. This is a bit of Kabbalah, basic ideas. The Yesod is giving a transferring of energy of Shefa to Malchut, but in a positive way, with a tip towards the right side. That it should be for the good, and it's indicated by the Hey Chasadim. These Hey 5 kindnesses, Rabbi Nachman in this lesson is going to go into it. He says, besides the Kabbalistic explanation, why is there a term called the Hey Chasadim? He says simply, the word tzedakah appears in the Torah 5 times. In the Chumash, you have the word tzedakah, and what is tzedakah? Chesed. Because the Gemara says, he brings down this Gemara, Ein ha-tzedakah mishtalem ela kfi ha-chesed sheba. The value of the tzedakah is commensurate according to the level of chesed in the tzedakah. So when it says in the Torah tzedakah, it's referring to chesed really. So that's the idea of the hey connected to the zayin. And so Yesod really is zeh shulchan. It's together. It's zeh preparing for malchut. Shulchan is shulchan nachim, but zeh has in it the energy of zeh. It's called zeh. It's a question. Why isn't it zot shulchan? Why is it zeh shulchan, which is Yesod? It should be zot shulchan. This in the feminine sense, because the shulchan corresponds to malchut, like he says, and keter malchut. Rashi says on the shulchan, on the table of the showbread of the lechem hapanim. But in the Kabbalah, that's basically, on a nutshell, why it's called Zot, and this is called Zeh. Okay, Sif Gimel. So, Rabbi Nachman in this Torah is amazing. Why? He's giving an eitzah what to do to come out of Tavat Achila. Okay, damage has been caused by the Achila, which means damage in the Panim, which means the Azeh Panim, which we're going to see now. He's going to say right now, I'm jumping ahead a little. The Azeh Panim, they take this kavod, so, and also I can lose out the kavod and the new soul inside of it. So what to do to rectify all this? Coming up, he's going to mention the idea of tzedakah. But before that, he wants to say what the damage is, what we spoke about. The damage caused when the kavod has no panim because of tavat achila. So he starts, ukeshepogem betavat achila, and when a person blemishes by tavat achila, which means to eat more than you need. He calls in this lesson tavat achila not to be necessarily picky of what you eat. He's more concerned, Rabbi Nachman, on how much you eat. And of course, this doesn't refer to Shabbat and Yom Tov. Shabbat and Yom Tov, it is a mitzvah to eat well. I mentioned this many times in these classes. Shabbat and Yom Tov is a time to eat. It's during the week, which is the problem. It's reshut, that you have to be very, very careful on the balance being properly. So, again, when a person blemishes in the eating, and now because there's a blemish in the eating, there's no panim, and by there being no panim, nifgam kavod, the kavod is blemished, it can't properly distribute the new nefesh, the new soul, the new energy, the new goodness contained within it to give to a person. Ve'en no panim, and it doesn't have a face. That's why the kavod is blemished, because there's no panim to it, to the kavod, as mentioned above. So like I said earlier, mitgabrin azei panim. Through this, the brazen-faced people, they're az panim. They take the face and redirect it and distort it. They become strong. Dainu, in other words, shenofela kavod. The kavod falls into the wrong address. Shubechinat malchut. Look at that. You see, he calls kavod malchut equally. The malchut and kavod in Kabbalah are two opposites. Kavod corresponds to the highest sphere called keter, and malchut's on the bottom. Our job is keter malchut. Mi hu zeh melech hakavod. What does it mean, melech hakavod? That whenever a revelation of malchut comes to a person, he has to be wise to throw back the melucha coming to him back to Hashem. In other words, honor comes dressed to a person in malchut. Look at you, you're somebody. Look how good Hashem is good to you. Look how things are going amazing in your life. Look how your learning is beautiful. Look how your kedusha is amazing. In other words, you feel good about yourself, and think Hashem is He's shining something to you, making things good. So then you're under a test. Are you going to take the kavod for yourself, or give back the kavod to Melech HaKavod? Throw it back to Hashem. Our job is to reconnect the malchut back to kavod. That when malchut comes to me, which is the lower revelation of the kavod to a person, to throw it back to Hashem. That way you join always kavod to malchut. The goal of this lesson is to make this connection constantly between kavod and malchut. Malchut he calls coming up the nefesh. The nefesh is rooted, is connected to the kavod. These two always have to be together. In order to get the nefesh to come to a person, the new blessing come to you, you have to make sure that it's always connected to kavod. If for 1 second it's separated, so the kavod takes off and pulls with it the malchut, the soul. And that's how he said a person chas shalom can die, or it can mean also that any goodness that Hashem gives to a person can be taken away. That's also the idea of the nefesh, that what he gave to you can be taken away afterwards, chas shalom. So now there's no malchut and there's no kavod. Dainu shenofel kavod shu bechinat malchut. It falls. The melech hakavod now is fallen because there's no panim. It's blemished. Vazayin notin kavod azei panim shebador. You see, this lesson is very deep because on one hand he said originally that the kavod takes off, but now he's saying here that the kavod is taken by other people. So he said initially, kavod comes to you. You have to receive it properly, b'kedusha v'tahara for the sake of Hashem. So then the kavod comes to you. But if now, after it comes to you, you blemish through eating, so now it has no panim, and at that point, the azei panim, now that the kavod is accessible because it's close to the person, the azut panim, whether in the person, the brazen-facedness in the person, or other brazen-faced people, which as Rav Nosson explains in the prayer, are the goyim, akum, and also Rabbi Nachman in the lesson refers to that. Goyim, number one. Number two, the wicked in the Jewish people. People who are wicked in the Jewish people. And he says, manigim shel sheker, false leaders. False leaders are people who are aware that they're not the real address, and yet they take honor. Cholkin, his wording Rav Nosson in the prayer, cholkin kavod la'atzman. They accept and distribute honor for themselves. They know they're not the real address for the person, but they take honor for themselves. Just a story on the side about this point with a Breslov Chassid. His name was Ben Zion Apter. He went to the Holocaust. He survived the Holocaust. He lost his whole family. And before the war, so he was born into a Hasidic family in Poland. They had a Rebbe. Poland had many Rebbes, like Hungary. Poland and Hungary, they had tons of Rebbes in all these villages and everything. And there was a big, strong push, with a kanaut. They were kanaim. They were very, very extreme in the Rebbes. In other words, my Rebbe, your Rebbe. It was very, very strong, this attitude of the tzaddikim. Whereas in Hungary, then emunah, all the tzaddikim, they would go travel to all the Rebbes and everything. In Poland, there was a very strict thing of hanaga, of his Rebbe, my Rebbe, your Rebbe, was very strong in Poland. So he was born into a Hasidic family, and when he reached right before Bar Mitzvah and after Bar Mitzvah, and he told his father, I really want to push, I want a big push for Avodat Hashem. So he said, okay, you're going to be Bar Mitzvah soon. So when you go to the Rebbe for your Bar Mitzvah, I'm going to bring you to the Rebbe to get a bracha on the day of your Bar Mitzvah. So ask him advice for that. So he brought him to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe told him to read the Sefer Noam Elimelech. Take the Sefer Noam Elimelech. And he did. He started to read through Noam Elimelech. He was amazed. But he read it again and again, and it began to not talk to him. So he told his father, I still feel joy. It's not helping me, my Avodat Hashem. He said, what? Why are you doing such problems for me? Why can't you be just like a regular boy like everybody else and just shut up and be happy and just take it? Why now you're making it difficult for me? He said, what do you want to tell me, my father? It's not working out. I'm burning for Avodat Hashem. This book is not, the Rebbe with this advice and the Sefer is not helping me. I feel empty still. It's not talking to me. He said, so let's go back to the Rebbe. He went back to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, okay, another Sefer, Tanya. Take the Sefer Tanya. So he gave him the Sefer Tanya, and he was also amazed by the Sefer. But he reached the point after, and he read it, he was swallowing it up because he was burning. He was thirsty as a little boy, 13 years old, 14 years old. He was burning to serve Hashem and burning to come close, to feel Hashem and the davening, not to be dry and everything. He finished the Sefer Tanya a few times, and again, and his father said, oh, come on, just be like a normal kid, stop it. He said, what do you want me to do? So he said, let's go to the Rebbe again. So went to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe also said, why can't you be like a regular child like everybody else? Why do you have to do problems? What do you want so out? He said, I don't want anything. I'm trying to serve Hashem. I feel far and I feel it's not working out. He said, okay, I have one more sefer to give to you, and if this doesn't work, I don't know what's going to help. It's a book called Likutey Moharan. And he gave him the sefer Likutey Moharan, and he was amazed. And he saw a sefer, as soon as he started to learn it, it started to talk to him like fire. He said, wow, I found something. And while he was learning the Sefer, he told this over. This story, Ben Zion after himself, he told this over to Rav Gedalia Fer. What I'm telling you now, this story, is in the back of a book. It's in English, it's called Against All Odds. In Hebrew, in Lashon HaKodesh, it's called Uman Kach Nifratza Aderech. In the back, there's biographies of Breslov and Hasidim. So under Ben Zion after, you have this story here. So he said that while he was learning Likutey Moharan, whenever Rabbi Nachman spoke about the tzaddik, so he had it in mind his Rebbe, the Rebbe who gave him the Likutey Moharan. But then he reached a place, and I this is me talking, I assume it's lesson Samech Dalet, because there, the way Rabbi Nachman talks about the power of the tzaddik, you can't match it. It can't be anybody. He said as soon as he reached a certain point in Likutey Moharan, where he talks about the power of the tzaddik as something unbelievable, at that point I realized it couldn't be my Rebbe. And at that point, I discovered I have to maybe discover what Breslov is all about. And he says when he started to go to Breslov, he faced tremendous opposition from his Rebbe and from his family. Why am I bringing this up, this point? Because of this inyan, that when a person knows that he's not the address and still takes the kavod for himself, that's dangerous. If he knows he can help people, he's not at that level, it's understood. But if he knows there are people above his level, tzaddikim above, who can help lost cases, and people who are really far, and he can't help them, so then he's in danger if he's taking the kavod, because by taking the kavod for himself, people will come to him, and not as a result, go to the true address. I want to develop this a little, it's a little off, and we'll stop at this point. Rav Nosson talks about this a lot. Rav Nosson, it's very scary in the Likutey Halachot, how he talks about this. In Hilchot Shabbat Halacha Hey, which is based on another Torah Samech Zayin, 67 in part 2, Tinyana. Rav Nosson there explains the whole inyan of Amalek, where it says, Vaizanev becha kol hanecheshalim acharecha. Right? What did Amalek do? He cut off. Vaizanev, he tailed. The translation of Vaizanev is he tailed. In other words, the people were at the end, which Rashi explains is Machane Dan, the Jews from Machane Dan who sinned and was spit out from the cloud. The cloud didn't. The cloud hitkapel lifnehem. The clouds of glory in the desert went around them and not surrounding them. In other words, went in front of them and made these people out of the cloud. So even if they tried to be in the cloud, they were always being spit out by being covered and concealed within the cloud in the desert. And because of that, they were noticeable by enemies. Enemies who were watching, especially Amalek was laying wait there. So they saw the Yidden from the tribe of Dan, and they killed them. By Zanev, they tailed the Jews who were on the back, because the tribe of Dan was always at the end, traveling in the desert, right? They were at the end at the back. Now she explains that. The second opinion, they're like a whole line. The Dan was such a big uchlosia. There were so many that they went in alignment with the whole square of the Jews as they were moving as a square, but Dan would cover the whole back of the whole side of that square while the Jews were moving in the desert. And they were called Me'asef Dechol HaMachanot. If anyone lost anything, Dan would find it. The tribe of Dan, they were at the back, so they pick up all the lost items, and afterwards they would do Hashavat Aveda, fine. But from Dan, the tribe of Dan in general, because it corresponds to a snake. So the Kabbalah Zohar explains that the tribe of Dan are people who are very extreme to the domain of evil, just kechuta sa'ara. So because of that, the tribe of Dan was considered in a way a low tribe because they're very close to the Tuma, and because of that, the Jews in Dan were split out. Some of them were split out from the cloud, and Amalek attacked them and said, "Vaizanev becha kol hanechashalim." Nechashalim is from the word chalash, weak. All those who are weak from you, right? So Rashi explains there's something else, tailed. But he says, what did Amalek do? He cut the Brit Milahs, the foreskins, the orlot, the Brit Milahs out after killing them to mock Hashem. He cut their organ, their Brit, Amalek, and he threw it up to heaven as if to say, hey, here's your mitzvot. What good did it do for these Jews to serve you, God, if now they died, they didn't protect them? You, as their Lord, they sinned to an extent where they couldn't be protected from us. So this is what Rashi says. Rav Nosson goes deeper. Rav Nosson says like this. What does Amalek do? Amalek is against who? Amalek is called Reshit Goyim Amalek. What does it mean, Reshit Goyim Amalek? He's the leader of the nations. What does it mean he's the leader? It's like the head. Reshit means the beginning. Also means the Rosh, which means what? Amalek is the main enemy against the big guys in Am Yisrael. Who's the biggest guy in Am Yisrael? Moshe Rabbeinu, who's called Rosh B'nai Yisrael. It's another lesson in the Likutey Moharan. Rosh B'nai Yisrael, as Rashi Tevot stands for Rabbi. Our Rabbi is Rosh B'nai Yisrael. Right? We still have time. Rosh B'nai Yisrael, he's the leader. And Amalek is against Moshe Rabbeinu. Who's Amalek really against? He wants to attack Moshe Rabbeinu. The thing is, Moshe Rabbeinu is very holy, very kadosh. And Amalek, as sly and as tricky, he's a shape changer, right? Amalek, they were shape changers. They had witchcraft and sorcery. They were able to change their image. So as tricky as they were, they can't fight against Moshe Rabbeinu head on. So what do? They do what's called the grama. They do things on the side in order to attack Moshe Rabbeinu. How could they attack Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Rabbeinu, he's not here for himself. He is the leader of Am Yisrael. That means the tzaddikim, who are the love of Moshe Rabbeinu, they're here to help Am Yisrael to come close to Hashem. Their mission is for Am Yisrael. So what does Amalek want to do? To sever, to make a mechitza, a wall between Moshe Rabbeinu and Am Yisrael, so that Moshe Rabbeinu has his own power and greatness only because of Am Yisrael. Like Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, Lech red ki shechet amecha, go down from your level because your nation sinned. Rashi says, the whole honor and glory I gave you and the greatness I gave you, Moshe Rabbeinu, was only because of Am Yisrael. If now they're tainted and blemished because of the golden calf, so you can't maintain your level. You have to go down also, because your greatness is because of Am Yisrael, for the sake of Am Yisrael, to bring them back, to be their shepherd, to be their leader. Fine. So Amalek, he separates Am Yisrael from Moshe Rabbeinu. How does he do it? What Rashi says, by Zanev Becha, he takes Brit Milah, throws it of people who are chalash, throws it upwards. What is that? Rav Nosson explains, it's unbelievable. It's scary when you hear this. He takes tzaddikim who are really tzaddikim, but at a low level. But Amalek, he raises them up high. He makes them super duper famous and mufursamim, even though they're not at the level of the fame that they're receiving. They're tzaddikim. They daven beautifully. They have Yirat Shamayim. They're holy people. You see how they say Kiddush. You see how they daven. Wow, unbelievable. Compared to other people, these are mamash tzaddikim. But what does Amalek do? He makes the fame of these people, the fame that they deserve, matching their level, is here. What does Amalek do? He makes the fame of these people up here. He throws upwards the zanav, the people who are at the tail. Tzaddikim were really low tzaddikim compared to the real tzaddikim at the level of Moshe Rabbeinu. You can't compare. In Moshe Rabbeinu's time, there were many tzaddikim. There was Moshe Rabbeinu, and then there was Aaron, Hur, right? Bnei Aaron, and then there's 70 elders. They're not tzaddikim, they're all tzaddikim. But compared to Moshe Rabbeinu, you can't compare to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, like it says, on Har Sinai, Moshe Rabbeinu has his level, Aaron has his level, these elders have their level, and Am Yisrael Bichlal no, they're not on the Har Sinai at all, right? So you see already in the Torah, there's levels of tzaddikim, the Torah mentions it. Not all tzaddikim are at the same level. There's Moshe Rabbeinu, who's high up there. So what does Amalek do? He gives the low tzaddikim such a high fame, above their level, so that when people have a problem, people need an Eitzah, people need Yeshua, so they automatically go to these tzaddikim who cannot help them. They have problems which need someone who's holding at the level of the fame that attracted them to this tzaddik. They have tzarot and everything that only a high tzaddik at the level of the fame that I'm being shown can help. And the tzaddikim who have the fame are holding here. Amalek did this. He lifted them up. They're really holding here, but their fame is over here. And people over the world are looking for the tzaddik who has this level of fame. But the ones who have this fame their level is here. They can't help the person who has the problem with the child. He's born with this, and the chas v'shalom there's a cancer here, and my child fell off the path, and chas v'shalom, all these things, tzarot to people happening, and they're going to regular tzaddikim who these type of tzarot they can't help. They can give some chizuk and everything at their level. But the people who are coming with the tzarot, they need someone at that level, and it's not there. And that's how Amalek gets people not to go to the real address. Whereas all the fame now is with these tzaddikim, and now the real tzaddikim who deserve this fame, they're being covered up. There's no fame at all. Because all the fame is by here. What does he have to offer me? Look at this guy, he's so famous, and this, and they say all these things about him. So it must be that this is the address to help even me. And this is how Amalek attacks the high tzaddikim at the level of Moshe Rabbeinu, who can really help. And these are an example of the Azei Panim, right? Azai Notlin Kavod Hazei Panim Shebador. And just to finish this little paragraph, Ki Azut Malchuta Bela Taga. Look at the Gemara. Azut, what is Azut? Chutz, brazen-faced people, is a type of a Malchut that doesn't have a crown. Malchuta Bela Taga. What does that mean? It's a Malchut that doesn't have a Kavod. What is Taga? Taga is Keter, and Keter is the Sphira, it's a crown. Crown is Keter, and Keter is the Sphira that Kavod is associated with. Rabbi Nachman Lesson 6 connects Keter to Kavod. There's a rule, Rav Shechter says, there's a rule in Kabbalah, every word that has the same beginning, they're connected. So Kavod, he says, and there in Likutey Moharan Torah, he says, En Kavod Belo Chaf. That the Kavod has a Chaf in it, that means that's the connection to it. The letter Chaf here is something, so you have Keter, Kavod, they're connected with the letter Chaf, that's the essence of the word, which is connected to the letter Chaf, which is associated with crown. The Keter, Kavod, they're connected. So Malchut is not connected to the Kavod, it's Melech with no Kavod. There's no Melech HaKavod. So that's what Azut is, it takes the Malchut for itself. It's Malchuta Bela Taga, what the Gemara says in Sanhedrin. It's a Malchut that has no crown, it's undeserved, they can't help. There's no kavod of Hashem here. It's dangerous. Hainu, in other words, Kishe'ein bechinat malchut, when the malchut, which is bechinat hashulchan, b'kedusha, the eating, which is the table of a person done in holiness, rather there's tabat achila and it's blemished, bishlemut, it's not complete, it's not proper, it's not complete where there's eating, the right and balance and holiness and purity. Azai mitgaber ha'azut, then the brazen-faced gained upper hand, shu malchuta bela taga, which is kingship, without a crown, there's no keter, there's no kavod, there's no honor, there's no glory. Below keter malchut, as mentioned above. So he changes keter malchut and kavod malchut, they're connected. We'll stop here at this point, and with Hashem, continue the next one.